Hi, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Marissa. I'm a registered dietitian. I have a private practice in Palos Verdes, and I see clients of all ages, virtually only right now. And I address a variety of nutrition concerns with my clientele, mainly helping them to develop and recover from eating disorders and to develop a healthy relationship to food. I also see clients who are struggling to control prediabetes or diabetes, and also those who just have general wellness nutrition concerns. Part of my work is I contract with different companies to provide nutrition related services. So I'm so happy to be here today and to talk about a couple of Thanksgiving side dishes and desserts that you can share with your loved ones this holiday season. Okay, sounds good. So like I said, we're going to be doing two dishes today. One of them is going to be a fall quinoa salad, and another one is going to be a mini sweet potato tart. So we're going to start with the mini sweet potato tart. Has anybody cooked this before? It's directly from the Blue Zones cookbook. No, exciting. So let me introduce the ingredients for that. As I stated, we are using sweet potatoes as the main ingredient for this dish. We're using oatmeal, just dry oatmeal. We're using chopped or crushed pecans and brown sugar. And we're using a already prepared pie crust. So what we're going to do to start out is these sweet potatoes have already been washed and baked. So that's something that you can do ahead of time. So what we're going to do is we're just going to remove the skin. We're going to mash them up. Sweet potatoes are very high in vitamin A. They're actually a root vegetable. And they get mixed up a lot with yams. Does anybody dislike sweet potatoes? What are your thoughts on sweet potatoes?
I think I like yams better, but I'm not sure if I know the difference, except I thought yams are darker. Is that true?
Yeah, they're from a different family, actually, and everybody thinks they're related, but they're not. Yeah, how about anybody else? So these skins are a little tough.
I don't know why I thought yams were lighter. And I love sweet potatoes. And we'll just cut them up and put them in a salad after they're baked, or eat them plain. They don't really need butter. Very yummy.
Yeah, be careful how the size, I'm just going to do one because the size of the other one that I did is a little too big. They didn't cook through, so the skin is a little tough to remove. Yeah, actually, whoever said it first, I think I said it wrong. So sweet potatoes are darker, yams are lighter. But does anybody know the other colors of sweet potatoes? They don't always have to be orange.
Purple. Isn't there a white one too?
There is. So once you remove the skins, you're just going to put them in a bowl and they will be ready for mashing. I'm going to set this aside. Sweet potatoes are great too for babies and little ones who are just being introduced to food, to table food. Remember, this was one of the first vegetables that I introduced to my kiddos. It's loaded with beta carotene, which is a precursor to vitamin A, potassium, lots of antioxidants and phytochemicals. And a lot of people assume that sweet potatoes are superior in nutrition to white potatoes, but that's not necessarily true.
We like cooking up a lot of the sweet potatoes and just leaving them in the refrigerator and grabbing them as a snack.
Oh, that's a great idea. How do you do that? How do you eat it?
We just take it, just like I guess like an apple. I mean, we just take it and just eat it, even if it's cold, just right from the refrigerator.
Okay, that's cool.
I guess not like an apple, but we just eat it like that.
Right.
It's an easy go-to snack. It's healthy and it's sweet and it's satisfying.
Sure. So luckily I baked another one that's about this size, which is smaller than the other one that we had trouble removing the skin from. So we're going to use this one because I want to have enough to work with. And the great thing about this recipe is you can do a lot of this is what takes the most time, is baking the sweet potatoes in the oven. You can also microwave them, but I decided to do it in the oven. So after that's mashed up, we're just going to put it on the side and we're going to start working with our dough. But let me wipe off the cutting board. Does anybody make homemade pie dough?
No.
Yes. Anybody do the pre-purchased only? I do. Although I think I'm gonna make homemade pie this year because I have time. It's not going anywhere. So that'll be
Now
fun.
we're going to go even less. Wherever we were going is going to be less coming in the next month.
True. So if you do prepared pie dough, or even if you do homemade pie dough, obviously it's going to roll out like this. And what we're going to do is we're just going to create round circles to fill our muffin tin with. So depending on how fancy you want to be or how creative you want to be, that's going to be completely up to you. One of the things that I like to do if I'm trying to be like really neat and just kind of change my presentation style a little bit is I'm going to use a glass cup and I'm just going to kind of cut out my shape like this. And what that does is it just creates like a very neat circle that I'm going to place on the bottom. Well, you want to make sure that you kind of cover the sides too. So I'm going to do 2 of them. So that it has good coverage on both sides. And there's going to be a little tin exposed and that's okay. So I don't know if you could see that. Okay. And then the other option, and again, there's no rules to this, is you could just kind of get a piece if you wanted to, and just put it in loosely and kind of pull up the sides so that it covers most of the tin, because we're going to be putting a filling in it. So we want it to be strong enough and stable enough to support what goes inside. So that's fine too. It's just a little messier, as you can see. Okay. So we're going to do this. I'm going to use this for the rest just because it's easy enough. Doesn't take a lot of time. We're just going to fill little muffin tins. And then what you're going to do is the recipe calls for actually freezing it for about 10 minutes and then baking them for about 15 minutes before we fill. If you're making your dough, your crust homemade, you can freeze it ahead of time, as you know. And you don't have to spray this or anything because there's already enough oil and fat in the dough to where it doesn't really stick.
I'm curious about perhaps, I'm not sure, the unhealthy fats and the sugar in this recipe in terms of blue zones. I don't know, maybe I'm not that familiar with blue zones, but
Okay, I'll come back to this. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna freeze this for 10 minutes and then we're gonna bake it for 10 minutes. And then you're gonna have something that looks like this. Okay, so these are the crusts, and you can see how kind of some of the ones that were just formed by just more loosely pulling it up kind of looks more like a flower. And then the ones that are more circular just kind of look a little bit neater. So there's no rules to this at all. It's just whatever you're preferencing. And then I just wanted to show how if you just do one circle in the tin, how it doesn't create like really a full cup. So we'll see how that turns out after we stuff it, after we fill it. So in terms of your question about the sugar concerns, there's not that much added sugar. There's 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. There's natural sugar probably in the sweet potato. And then in the dough, I'm not sure how much sugar, but it doesn't strike me as a really high added sugar, dish. What does everybody else think?
how about the fat? How about the fats in the dough? Are they considered to be healthy fats, or are they just not significant enough to?
Yeah, I don't believe they are significant enough to worry about causing harm. I mean, you do need fat for cohesiveness, in a dough or in a baked good. You need fat for satiety and flavor. And so the type of fat is minimal, when you kind of look at all the other nutritious ingredients that are in the dish. And then there's fat from the pecans too, but pecans are a nut, so there's a lot of benefits that are reaped from there, which is important. And actually, I'm glad that you brought that up, because fat actually is needed to absorb fat soluble vitamins, and the fat soluble vitamins that's in this dish is from the sweet potatoes. Vitamin A is a fat soluble vitamin. So fat's doing its job in this recipe. So then we're just going to take this mashed sweet potato mix and we're going to fill the cups. Did that kind of answer your question or concern about the fat?
Yeah, thank you.
Sure, no problem.
More benefit than harm.
Yeah, and just remember, we need fat to absorb fat soluble vitamins. And so as you can see, the ratio of sweet potato to dough is off. So you want to make sure that you either use less sweet potato or you buy more dough if you're creating this. And these guys are versatile enough to where, I don't know if I said this earlier, but they can be, added to the dessert table, or they can be added to the appetizer table, kind of just depending on personal preference. And then after we fill these, we are going to bake them for about 10 minutes. And then we'll add the crumble on top. I just want to use as much as I can. Any questions so far?
Marissa, do you know the calorie count for these?
I don't.
Okay.
What oven temperature?
Oh, thank you for asking. 375. Okay, so we're gonna get this out of the way. And then, like I said, we have a couple tablespoons of brown sugar. You can use more or less depending on your preference. sweet potatoes are already sweet, remember that. And so you might find that using this amount maybe is a little too sweet or not sweet enough. And so I always encourage people to kind of just listen to their taste buds, listen to their bodies. And if you want to use a little more or less next time, you're completely welcome to. So, and then, like I said, chopped pecans, you can crush them if you'd like. And the pecans offer a healthy dose of fat and fiber and a little bit of protein also. So we're just going to mix this together.
Can you substitute maple syrup or honey instead of the brown sugar?
Yes. Yeah. Thanks for asking that. The recipe actually states that exactly what you said, that you can substitute syrup instead of brown sugar.
Would it be equal amounts?
Yes.
Okay. Thank
And we're
you.
going to add 2 tablespoons of dried oats. And you guys are probably aware of the health benefits of oats. There's lots of fiber, a little bit of protein. And so it just creates like a crumble like that we're going to put on top. Okay, so we're going to set that aside. What questions so far?
I might explore making my own pie dough with, I don't know what healthier fats might be. I don't know. Maybe there isn't a way to make a healthy pie dough, but I might explore that.
Yeah. Yeah, let me know what you do if you do that. But remember, you don't want to be afraid of fat, right? Because there's so many benefits of having fat in the diet. And I always encourage my clients to look at like sort of the ratio, of fat in their dish or their diet or their meal or their snack versus, what else is included in that particular dish or snack to kind of, neutralize any sort of fears or thoughts about
I'm just trying to avoid the unhealthy fats and head toward the healthy fats. So I don't know all the terminology yet, but I know saturated fats versus trans fats. My ignorance, but I'm learning about the differences.
Yeah, definitely. And feel free to, ask any questions you have regarding that. Be happy to answer that. Okay.
Andrea said, sorry.
No.
Andrea makes her crust with thin sliced yams layered on the pie pan. Bake to make crispy first prior adding the pie filling.
It's a good idea. Okay, so next I'm going to introduce the ingredients for the autumn quinoa salad. And this recipe can be found online on the Blue Zone's website. Right, Tiffany? Did I say that right?
Yes.
So as stated in the recipe, it is a fall quinoa salad. So we have cooked quinoa, about 1.5 cups right here. We'll talk about the nutrition components in a minute. We also have red kidney beans that are pre-rinsed and drained. We have green peas. We have sliced almonds, which you could substitute with peanuts or another type of nut of your choice. I don't have peanuts in my house because my 9-year-old is allergic. So I try to stay clear whenever I can and substitute out for walnuts or almonds, which she can have. Anyone have a nut allergy?
Yes, almonds.
Oh, you're allergic to almonds. So you are the opposite. You would want to sub out the almonds for something else.
Yes.
What do you usually sub them out for?
Pecans, if it's
Okay.
something in a dessert wise or something.
Do you have to also be careful if the label says manufactured on the same plant as?
No, it's not that bad, but
Good.
just can't have a whole lot of them.
Okay, so if it says may contain almonds, you can still have them?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we also have green onions, fresh parsley, and shredded carrot. So we're just gonna chop up the green onions. I'm not sure who was here last week, but anytime, we talked about this last week, is anytime you have a vegetable or fresh herb or fresh spice, you know, and you notice obviously, you know, whatever color it is, whether it be white, green, orange, you know, yellow, you're always going to be getting a variation of phytochemical from that different color that's in the particular plant that you're eating. Just going to add these chopped green onions to the quinoa. You can use more or less, again, kind of depending on your flavor preference. I personally love green onions, so I tend to go a little bit overboard, and especially now because nobody's going to be tasting it. You know, I like to add a little bit more when I can. Same with the parsley. And we're going to chop the parsley. Who's the one that has a garden? I remember that was brought up last time. Someone grows fresh herbs. Not here today.
I'm gardening with my 87-year-old neighbor, and he's providing the land and I'm helping. But I do have enough room in my own little tiny garden for some basil and parsley and cilantro.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Got a little crazy on the parsley, so I'm not going to use all that I washed. And then finally we have carrots. I don't think I mentioned that. These are shredded carrots, which are another great source of vitamin A. So we're just going to add everything together. I told you I talked about quinoa. So quinoa is a plant-based protein. It's full of iron and also, like I said, protein, fiber, and also potassium, I believe. We're going to be adding another plant-based protein right here, which are our red kidney beans. Kidney beans are high in iron as well. And then we're going to be adding our peas. These are frozen, but you can use cooked peas. You know, you could boil them, I should say, if you prefer. Peas have a moderate amount of iron and protein and fiber as well as the quinoa and the kidney beans. Get my spoon. We're going to toss these ingredients together. This can be had room temperature, cold, warm, but I love the bright colors that it creates. Before I show you, we're going to add our almonds last. And then we're going to dress it with a little bit of olive oil, which is contains monounsaturated fatty acids, which are beneficial to our brain and to our heart. And then we're going to add a bit of rice vinegar. Some salt, some pepper. Turn off my pastries. Oh yeah, those are great. Let me grab those. gonna keep the oven on because remember we have to finish baking those. So then we're just gonna toss the rest of this fall quinoa salad together. And this is how it looks once everything is combined. It's very colorful. So this could be used as a, this could be eaten as, you know, a main meal. It could be had as a side dish. You know, like I said, kind of whatever works for your personal situation. It works for me. Okay, so we're gonna set that aside and we're gonna grab our little sweet potato tarts. And after you pull them out of the oven, they look pretty similar to before you put them in the oven, just a little brown on top. And what we're gonna do here is we are going to add our mix on top, our crumble. And then we're gonna pop them in the oven for another 10 minutes. Okay, and I kind of just like to get the back of the spoon and kind of mash it down just a little bit. You don't have to, that's just my own thing that I do. Okay. And they look like this. $10 minutes. Get this out of the way. Bring the salad back. And I want to ask if anybody has any questions about any of the ingredients in this fall quinoa salad.
Marissa, on the quinoa, I've never learned to cook, but on the quinoa, I buy packages of brown rice and quinoa that I put in the microwave for 90 seconds and we have for dinner. With dinner. Is there quinoa that I can just buy separately like that I can just microwave and use that to cook it? Or do I have to buy the raw stuff and figure out how to do it?
Yeah, so you might be able to find one that you can microwave. I don't know of one, but the raw stuff, it is not super complicated to cook. It's similar to rice. So you would just boil like 2 cups of water, and before you even boil it, it's actually easier than rice. So you just fill a saucepan with 2 cups of water and then a cup of the quinoa, and you bring that entire pan to a boil, and then you simmer it. You put the lid on, and it cooks for about 12 to 15 minutes. And that's it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. You can also actually substitute, since you said you have brown rice already, or you are comfortable making that, you can sub out the quinoa for brown rice if you want.
Okay, it's a brown rice quinoa mix.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you could definitely try the recipe with that and see if you like the flavors.
Okay, that would be good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then in terms of like the nutrient comparison, quinoa compared to the brown rice. So the quinoa, you are going to get some more iron and a little bit more protein, though not too much more protein.
Okay.
Marissa, do you soak the quinoa before you cook it?
I do not. I know some people that do, but I don't.
They say it gets rid of the bitterness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think when it's mixed with everything, I personally don't taste, the bitterness, but I like to, if I'm having it by itself, sometimes I'll make it with chicken broth instead of water, just to give a little bit different flavor.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? You know what? I forgot an ingredient. I just realized. Does anybody know? Did anybody read the recipe ahead of time?
No.
So nobody would know if I didn't say, huh? So there is a final touch of color, and it comes from dried cranberries.
Ooh.
Yes. We're gonna dump those in there. And the cool thing about this recipe is that, you know, if there's a particular ingredient that you just don't like or that you don't have taste palette for, you can leave it out. So it didn't really change much to how it looks. And so the end result looks like this.
Very pretty.
Wow, beautiful.
That looks
Yeah.
delicious.
Yeah.
Now, you said they could be either an appetizer or a dessert?
I think so. I think that they can be, added to either one. They could also be served as part of your, you know, as part of the spread, right?
Right,
For
yeah.
Thanksgiving, they could be on the table. And so we're going to let them cool a little bit before I remove them. But any questions about the process of this or how they look or what?
Where can I get the recipe book?
Good question. I'll let Tiffany answer that.
Yeah, so the Blue Zones kitchen book is actually available for purchase. It can be on from Amazon, the actual Blue Zones website. I can post the link on the chat in 1 minute.
I'm gonna hold this up. It's hot, but I can handle it.
Very nice.
So I'm just gonna show you the variations too of the pie crust. So this is the one that was that I like manually kind of brought up to cover the entire tin. So you can see here, sorry. You can see how it's literally holding the filling. So that's helpful. And then the one where we did the circle, where we used the cup to create the lining or the pattern, it looks like this. So, you know, it's just basically the same, but it just looks different from the crust perspective. And then the one where we just lined the bottom mainly of the tin, it still holds, which is interesting. Let me show you. So it still holds, it just comes out of the side a little bit, like you can see. But it still has a decent sized base. I personally like either the 2 circles or the one that looks like the flower.
If you were using it as an appetizer, you might like the lower one with the smaller crust and less filling.
Yes, that's a great idea. And then, yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense because the more dough you have, the more full filling that it is. So they're one. They kind of look like little stuffed mushrooms, like this, so this flat one reminds me of. And that's it. So here's how everything looks together on the plate. I don't want to drop it.
This is so colorful.
So colorful. Yes, indeed. So fairly simple recipes, but they add, you know, a pretty powerful punch of nutrition and flavor, and could definitely be, you know, implemented and presented at your next, you know, holiday dinner, or even non-holiday dinner.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining. I hope everybody stays safe and healthy.
Thank you very much.
Marissa, happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Happy
Happy
Thanksgiving.
holidays, everybody.